And the World Health Organization says, no. We want to stand with the government who oppresses its people and then lies to the working class people across the pond, ensuring a pandemic when 95% of it could have been mitigated had we just done our job. Let's go to right now. Everyone's been talking. We talked about it initially over a week ago, the World Health Organization, specifically in addressing China. And now I know that a lot of other people have sort of been picking up these talking points, which is a great thing.
Finally.
But let's get specifically into how they are synonymous and really everything wrong with the World Health Organization. I think this is the first time we've done it with an organization.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's been individuals up until now. They're number one.
Entity.
So if people haven't been following, they've been actually trending this week as they've been celebrating the anniversary of the World Health Organization's, founding. I guess it's a celebratory thing. This is what they do.
It was on 7th April 1948 that WHO came into being.
Because I want my ambassador to be Neil deGrasse Tyson had sex with a Somali pirate from Captain Phillips.
Why, Neil? No.
I'm joking.
You have standards, Neil.
Of course, it's a joke. Gay men can't make babies.
Oh, that's right.
It's not how it works. Of course, everyone out there, everyone they love and they trust the World Health Organization, and that's why we have CBS, ABC, NBC. They've decided to come together to air the World Health Organization. Can I just say WHO from now on? Does that work?
Go ahead. Say WHO.
The WHO special. I love how everyone here's like, yes, please do. And don't bring the foot back up.
Please.
Yeah, I don't want to see that again. Please keep that below.
I will bring it. I will be a spite foot. So everyone here. Stay in line. It's One World Together at Home. It's an event with Colbert, Kimmel, and Jimmy Fallon hosting. And this is another example of, they say like, well, this is just about humanity. It's not political. And I just don't think they understand that they have a blind spot, that the World Health Organization, I'm sorry, I just don't like abbreviations. Yeah. It is a political wing.
Yeah.
They do have a political agenda. And unfortunately, it's aligned with people who hate everything the United States is about. And you know what? I really just want the left to understand this. Let's not even look at the fact that they hate America. I get it. You hate America, so you want to link arms. How about the fact that you cannot boycott the Gap and support an organization that excludes Taiwan and supports the most severe abuses of human rights of any modernized country?
Right.
And I think a lot of people may say, well, why has Trump been doing this? And let's explain why. He's obviously been bashing WHO for how it handled the outbreak with coronavirus, and he threatened to cut their funding. Of course, the media is beside themselves.
The WHO sent out multiple coronavirus alerts earlier this year, in fact, declaring it a global health emergency back in January. The president largely dismissed those warnings, saying also in January it's going to be just fine. That's a direct quote. Now, as Ben Tracy reports, Mr. Trump claims the WHO failed.
They called it wrong. They missed the call.
The president is shifting blame for the spread of the coronavirus to the World Health Organization.
I don't know if it's shifting, if just keeping it exactly where it always should have been.
Yeah.
It's like, did someone shift the dining room table? No, it's where it's always been, you shifty son of a bitch. So the anchor, you see that, and you've worked in media for so long, you see what's happening there, right? That the anchor is giving this impression that WHO was declaring coronavirus a global health emergency while Donald Trump was ignoring it.
Right.
Trump declared coronavirus a public health emergency the very same day that WHO made the declaration.
Really?
And in addition to that, he restricted travel from China. So how did I keep saying the WHO. How did WHO respond?
WHO.
No travel bans. They were against travel bans, and they would argue that it's not effective. Well, you know what? Listen, if your country is one big giant petri dish and they're lying about it, I think that putting a stop on leisurely vacations is a good start.
Probably a good start.
They were praising, by the way, China's handling of this pandemic. Okay, throughout the entirety of it.
Bending over backwards.
Let's be clear about this. This is important. The timeline matters.
Yeah.
Obviously, not all Chinese people. We've been very clear about that. I hate the Chinese government, and by proxy, WHO, because I empathize with the Chinese people who are abused and kept under the thumb of the Chi-Coms. Can I say that? Chi-Coms, Chinese communists? Can I say that? Or is that considered racist?
I guess.
I mean, everything's considered racist, but I don't think that's racist.
Chi-Com. Okay, that's fine. Who cares? So,
wait, the World Health Organization cares?
Who cares? I have no idea
We're so
anymore.
screwed with this one.
I know I don't. Do join Mug Club Quarantine, $30 off, because
it gets
we
better.
very well may not be here. So they were praising China, and it matters as far as the timeline, because all along the way, China, they were destroying evidence of the virus when it was first discovered. They silenced whistleblowers, arrested them. Some of them just disappeared because they were kept in abhorrent conditions. Yeah. Plus, by the way, there were studies. This is something very important to keep in mind. Well, everyone wants to blame Donald Trump, and I understand if you want to have the argument that it wasn't wasn't the ideal response, of course. I get that. But that's been nearly everywhere, particularly China, when you see unbiased studies show that if they'd have used the proper mitigation techniques rather than focusing on keeping up appearances, love, and the WHO doing their dirty work, 95%. 95% of the cases. And here's what matters, though, too. Has the World Health Organization ever mentioned any of this? If it's the World Health Organization, the fact that they lied about the virus, the fact that they silenced whistleblowers, many of whom disappeared, some of whom are dead, and the fact that they could have mitigated it by 95%, if your goal is to be the World Health Organization, seems to me that would matter. If there's no political motive, if the goal is entirely to solve the pandemic, why not highlight that international abuse of power? Instead, not only do they not do it, they just keep repeating Chinese propaganda points. Without question. That's the issue here. By the way, hit the notification bell if you are not subscribed to Mug Club, and I know that many of you aren't yet. Subscriptions don't mean a whole lot. Hit all notifications, and do consider subscribing to Kreider Bits. Of course, the podcast go. It's not iTunes anymore. It's not
Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense to have the toilet robot.
Yeah. Really? You're on my side now.
Yeah.
Oh.
I never was against it.
Oh, okay.
I just think it's invasive, but I like a little invasiveness. So here's another claim that was made by the World Health Organization. They repeated China's lies about how coronavirus was spread, and they said that there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission on January 12th. Now, I want to be clear and hold them to the same standard that we hold everyone. People can make mistakes. Right? People can be wrong. For example, the Trump administration thought that it wouldn't be as severe as it would, and that is true.
Right.
They declared an emergency, same timeline, but they didn't think it would be as severe because they were given information from China, and the World Health Organization corroborated. So I am not mad because they said no evidence of human-to-human transmission on January 12th because they made a mistake. I'm mad because Taiwan directly gave WHO evidence of human-to-human transmission in December. They provided them with proof of doctors getting sick from the coronavirus patients. It was clear evidence of human-to-human transmission. So why would the World Health Organization not listen and also go out and tell everyone else the exact opposite because they don't even recognize Taiwan as its own state? So here's the thing, too, that really does matter with Taiwan. Obviously, they deny Taiwan's sovereignty. So the WHO, they continue to block Taiwan from membership because China doesn't recognize them. And this is important because of the reason for Taiwan being a separate state. And that's because specifically it applies to the gross human abuses of human rights. Right. Get out of the show map. Someone was there and then the producer getting in the show map. I have these facts and they're like in there. I will murder you.
Changing them?
So they won't even let Taiwan have a seat at the table as an observer.
No.
And the reason for that is because Taiwan has been outspoken against China. This is something we've shown before, but I think it needs to be seen as many times as possible. It's as chilling as a clip gets. You don't need a conspiracy. Watch what happens when a World Health Organization official is asked specifically about Taiwan.
The WHO considered Taiwan's membership.
Awkward.
Hello?
I'm sorry, I can't hear. I couldn't hear your question.
Okay, yeah. Let me repeat the question.
No, that's okay. Let's move to another one then.
Right, because I'm actually curious on talking about Taiwan as well, on Taiwan's case.
Unreal.
Aaron Sorkin is surly.
Wow.
Yeah, that's shocking. That's horrible.
I just
That is
imagine
terrible,
that just worked if that was the level of accountability from every international organization. You know, like the UN, I don't know, asking Donald Trump about waterboarding, the Geneva Convention. Like, I don't like the question, I won't respond to it. Favorite tree?
Well, I love how he had the balls to go. I didn't hear your question. Can you? You know, and she goes,
Ask
"Oh,
a
I'll
different
repeat it." And he goes, "No. Let's move on to another one." Well, you don't even know what that one was.
It's just
like,
talk
hang
about
up.
terrifying. How about Taiwan? How about Taiwan? Or were you you forgot 7 years in Tibet? It was forgettable. It wasn't a great film. But you understand the point. The Chinese are not your friend as you go out there and bitch about sweatshops with Nike. And then say, trust the World Health Organization who's complicit. And again, this matters because people have made mistakes, I will say, across the board. But there is a stark contrast between the approach of the media, China, the World Health Organization, and it's important to remember that they've all acted as one and the same right now, and President Donald Trump. First off, Taiwan, he's already hinted at recognizing Taiwan in the past. He was the first United States president to call Taiwan's president since, I think, was it 79?
Nice.
Since 1979, I think.
Great year.
And that sent, of course, the media into hysterics. They were furious about it. And the truth is, too, while we're talking about Taiwan, why it matters, first off, it's reprehensible to not listen to a country simply because you want to assist in their oppression because you like China. That being said, from a pragmatic point of view, Taiwan handled the coronavirus better than almost any other country, in large part. Why? Because they don't trust anything China says.
They know them too well.
They know them too well. It was similar to South Korea, and we'll get back to that in a second. It was one of the earliest countries to be hit. It has one of the lowest infection rates and death rates. Despite being right next to China, they almost entirely avoided the virus. Their new cases peaked, I think, back in March 20, 22nd, 24th, something like that. Population of about 25 million people. They've only had 5 deaths. Also, keep in mind, incredible population density. We're not just talking about like spread across Wyoming here. Now, how did they pull this off, Taiwan? And World Health Organization, I hope you're listening because you might want to take some notes. They started inspecting passengers from Wuhan all the way back in December. They banned Wuhan residents and suspended tours to China in January. Then they banned all Chinese visitors February 6th. Again, you look at South Korea, what they did. They didn't have a full quarantine. Now, granted, they doxed their citizens, which you can't do here in the United States, and I don't think we want to do it here.
No,
but they acted early on, and they were immediately skeptical of any information being fed to them from China. So this idea that it's anti-Asian, no. Just the government of those assholes. And this is one of those rare instances where people are like, ooh, I don't know where they're from. Should I just say Asian? I don't want to say, because we always used to say Chinese. People say, in this case, Chinese government. Only you. Not the Koreans, okay? Not the Taiwanese. Chinese. Bad. By the way, let's go back to South Korea. Keep in mind, South Korea, they began moving to create testing kits January 16th. And again, they worked with private industry 2 weeks before the World Health Organization actually declared COVID an emergency. So this is important to note that Donald Trump values Taiwan's approach. So if you want to talk about the international committee and you want to talk about who's supporting people in why is it racist for someone, for example, to mention bat soup or to mention the Chinese Communist government? But you don't recognize that Donald Trump actually is supporting the people, the Taiwanese people who've been oppressed by China. And the World Health Organization doesn't even want to recognize them, doesn't even want to talk about recognizing them.
Won't even let them in the room because they're afraid of offending China.
Right.
That's incredible to me. I don't understand.
We do have to get to Anthony Cumia, and of course it's youtube.com/Stu Does America show. That's right. Horrible name.
Yeah, I know.
Good name for the show. Horrible URL.
Okay.
But Gerald, thank you. Here's the thing. Donald Trump should cut funding to the World Health Organization. And here's something else that people aren't recognizing. You know why the working class Americans, when we're talking about the Rust Belt, don't think that you're going in to bat for them? Do you know why, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders? Because you don't even go into bat for the working class in China, let alone Taiwan. These are people who are being paid pennies a day to work in sweatshop factories. The World Health Organization turns a blind eye. The one nation that tried to get themselves separated and say, hey, we don't want to do it the way that China does it. Donald Trump says, good on you. I'm going to actually try and recognize you and support you, just like I support the steel mill worker in Pittsburgh. And the World Health Organization says, no. We want to stand with the government who oppresses its people and then lies to the working class people across the pond, ensuring a pandemic when 95% of it could have been mitigated had we just done our job. I don't think we need to be funding the World Health Organization at all. If you want to find someone to blame, you don't need to shift the blame from Donald Trump to World Health Organization. You just need to keep it squarely where it always was. Chinese government and the World Health Organization. We are cleaning up their mess. No one's doing it perfectly, but how about we start with this? Let's look out for the working class. Let's look out for the underdog. In this case, it's the underdog in the United States who've been screwed by the international economic crippling, and the underdog in Taiwan, and also the underdog in China when they're not part of the elite ruling class in the government, or Jackie Chan shooting propaganda commercials for the government. Good God, can we make them included in Red Dawn? I can't believe that we catered to their stupid film market and changed it to North Korea. We should have seen the giant Chinese red flag, flipped them the bird, and said Wolverines forever. Was it Wolverines?
Wolverines!
Wolverines forever! Don't believe China! Don't trust China! China asshole! Hey, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe or hit the notification bell and hit all notifications, because not all notifications work now if you just hit the normal notification bell. I think there's some videos playing in boxes. But of course, do consider subscribing at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub, because there's a bunch of content that could never make it onto YouTube. And I think the box is playing, there's a video playing in a box with